every day there's an entrepreneur out there trying to figure out how to sell us something to make our lives easier. And so what that does is that changes normal, right? Hey, Joe, you're not normal. And normal gets softer and unhealthier and fatter every single year.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
More powerful than a locomotive.
An idea is like a virus. Resilient. Highly contagious.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Hey guys, and thank you for joining me in another Better Humanology podcast. Today we have an interview, and the topic is mental toughness because we are talking to Joe De Sena. And this guy is about as mentally tough as you can get. He is the co-founder of the Death Race and the Spartan Race. The Spartan Race is probably the one you know more about. It's had 1 million competitors to date, and there will be a ton more this year in 2015. And I don't say that it's just about mental toughness because of the Spartan Race or whatever. I'm saying that because Joe De Sena is a really mentally tough dude. He has completed the famously grueling Iditarod dogsled race, and he did that on foot. Not only that, he completed the Badwater Ultramarathon, which is 135 miles in 120-degree weather. That's Fahrenheit. He did the Vermont 100 and the Lake Placid Ironman. Any one of those events could kill a lesser human being, but not Joe. Joe did all 3 of the events I just mentioned in a 7-day time period. The dude is a maniac. His mental toughness is off the charts, so I am super excited to talk to him today because mental toughness is just one of my favorite topics. I love to see how I can push myself and better myself mentally, as I personally believe that that is one of the biggest factors to becoming a better human. And that's why at betterhumanology.com, we have the 7-day mental toughness course that you can run through. We won't be having you do any ultra marathons or anything like that, but we will be pushing you and getting you a little bit outside of your comfort zone to see if you can push it and go to that next level. So check out betterhumanology.com if you haven't already. Register for that free account and access our 7-day mental toughness course. You will enjoy it. So other than that, let's talk to Joe and get some advice from him on how to be a better human and how to build that mental toughness. Without any further ado, let's talk to Joe. All right, man, I think most everyone has heard of, competed, completed, or even been a spectator of a Spartan race, and they may even know you as the founder, but there's a lot more to you than being the founder of the Spartan Race, and I think that's where we should start. So can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into adventure racing?
Yeah, sure. So going way back, I grew up in Queens, New York. If you've seen the movie Goodfellas, I grew up fortunately or unfortunately, right in the center of that insanity, next to Kennedy Airport. And so my dad was a workaholic, maniacal entrepreneur. My mom, in the early 70s, very unique, was into meditation, yoga, health food, really pushing the limits on things that are just becoming mainstream today. She didn't believe in material things and all stuff that just seemed really wacky back then, and so I got influenced by both of them. My dad lost everything in the mid to late 80s, and that forced me to buck up and start a business, and I started a swimming pool cleaning business. The only people that had pools in our neighborhood were all organized crime guys, so I ended up building this giant business over about a decade that went from Brooklyn all the way out to Montauk, for anybody that knows the New York area. And we had about 750 customers, built up this big business, went to college while I was running the business, and then when I graduated college, I had met somebody at Cornell who begged me to give up the business and go to Wall Street. He said, although you think you're doing really well in Queens, you could do a hell of a lot better on the other side of the river. And after years of driving me nuts, oops, sorry, that's my dog She doesn't like Wall Street, I guess. He finally convinced me to do it, and I took a job on Wall Street and quickly got out of shape because I was sitting on a trading desk. I was starting to make some good money, but it required I go out every night and drink and meet clients, etc., and just started to feel completely unhealthy. So in a way to escape the intensity of the street and also feel alive again, like a human, like I felt when I was doing construction in the swimming pools, I found adventure racing, and I started racing all over the world. The bigger and crazier the race was, the more interested I was, and that got me hooked. And so for 20 years, 20 years, I've been doing these races.
That's awesome. And I know specifically you did the Badwater Ultramarathon and the Vermont 100 and Lake Placid Ironman all in 1 week. Can you tell me about that all happening in 1 week and why you chose to do that?
Well, I didn't choose to do it. It just happened. What happened was I had an assistant. I was extremely busy working on Wall Street at the time. And just like today, people will always call me up and email me and say, hey, Joe, let's go do this race together. And I never want to back down from a challenge, so I'd say, okay. Unbeknownst to me, I had said okay to 3 different people for 3 different events that all landed on the same week. And so when we got closer, my assistant said, hey, do you realize these 3 events, and people in our office really didn't know what these things were, but do you realize these 3 events are in 3 different states, and logistically it's going to be challenging for me to get you around? And I looked and I said, oh, man. And I thought about it for about an hour, and I said, you know what? We got to do this. Wow. And it'd be awesome if we could pull it off. And my wife threw in a 4th challenge, which was I had to go to a wedding post Badwater before Lake Placid, and my feet were swollen. And I was trying to dance. That was probably the hardest challenge of the week, but I got it done. I don't think I could recreate it today.
Yeah.
And a really funny component to it was in the Ironman. I thought I felt great in the swim, crushed the bike, and I thought now I'm going to really crush the run because I've already run 235 miles that week and did a bunch of dancing, and felt great the first mile, felt great the second mile. I don't know when it was, mile 4 or 5, I just broke down. And I started looking around for some aspirin or something, which I don't typically take. And I noticed a couple of kids on the side of the road as spectators had a case of beer. I don't drink either. So I had a few beers, and I started feeling better. And then I had a few more beers further on down.
Oh, wow.
And then I had a hamburger. And that got me through the run. And they filmed it and they used it in the Ironman year-end recap. This guy, me, eating burgers and drinking beer during the run. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome, but you got through it, which is the main thing. And I think that's kind of what you're all about is getting through it, and that grit. Can you point out or maybe say what it is that has helped you develop this grit, to get through all these really tough events and to really push through all the things that you've done?
I'm going to say it's really simple, but what I don't mean to say is during the challenge, whatever the challenge is in your life, it's not simple. It's not simple for anybody, not for me, for you. But the concept is really simple, and the concept is it's one step at a time. And as long as you can keep your composure and understand that, you'll get through it. As soon as you start looking way out in the distance, you're broken. And I had this rock climber say to me, you got to focus on the 3 feet in front of you. Once you go beyond the 3 feet in front of you, you have no control over that. And it's just going to upset you, and your mind's going to start playing with itself. And so anyway, hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, so just one thing at a time and chip away slowly. That's how you get through all the tough stuff. So, what do you feel like it gives other people to complete? You're now doing the Spartan Race. What does this provide people? What opportunity does it give them?
Well, so Spartan Race, it's a difficult challenge. It helps build obstacle immunity through, I think, those obstacles that we put out on the course are metaphors for life, right? We've all got things we've got to deal with. And in a sense, depending on how far you want to take your endurance career, it's a taste. You can take that little taste of a Spartan race and then build on that. And who knows, someday maybe you climb Everest. But it's a really good first step towards doing some really big things in your life. And if you want to, we've got, I can't even tell you how many 100,000 people that have turned it into their sport. And our goal is to make it an official sport, and so that's why we're here.
That's awesome. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna, we're kind of going quickly through this one, but that's good with me. I think that you hit on some really important points about mental toughness, and now I'm gonna go kind of the quick fire questions where I just, ask you, and then you give a quick answer or elaborate. It's up to you. So. Normally I ask the guests the hardest workout they've ever done, but I want to ask you the hardest event you've ever done.
Hardest event I have ever done, I would say, not really an event in the true sense of the word, but I would say building a business. And I would say the pool business. Spartan is extremely difficult. We're all over the globe, 17 countries. But I would say building a business from scratch at a young age was truly what gave me my grit.
All right.
Everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
That's awesome to know. As a person doing that myself right now, I like that answer. All right, man. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness? And I don't know if it'd be the same answer, but what's the best activity you think?
I would say building a business, but I would say throw in there cold showers.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, being able to
cold
deal with the
showers.
cold.
Yeah.
All right, and if you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
My body.
Awesome. And then the last and most important question of the show is the best advice you have for becoming a better human.
Best advice for becoming a better human, I'd say, is constantly be out over your skis. I think part of the problems we're having today in the world is it's natural for us to get in a comfort zone, right? When we want to if you go way back, you want to get out of the rain, out of the cold, and get into a cave, and the cave turned into a house, and the house got heated, and the house got indoor plumbing, and we got food on demand, and microwaves, and TVs, and phones, and computers, and it just keeps going. Every day, there's an entrepreneur out there trying to figure out how to sell us something to make our lives easier. And so what that does is that changes normal, right? Hey, Joe, you're not normal. And normal gets softer and unhealthier and fatter every single year. And we are uncomfortable going away from normal. So I would say to be more human, you've got to just constantly be out over your skis, be uncomfortable, be out of your comfort zone, because that puts everything in perspective. One, it gets you healthy. When we're talking about, if you're getting out of your comfort zone regarding getting out in the weather and pushing your limits, running 20 miles instead of the 10. But two, it gets your mind healthy. It gets all those things that are going to be thrown at you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, or just in life. God forbid somebody gets cancer. These things happen. If you're living outside your comfort zone, they're not as big a deal as if you're living in a bubble.
Okay, that's awesome. All right,
man.
I want to give the last bit of the show opportunity to tell people what you're doing. Obviously, you got the Spartan Race, but I know you got a new podcast too. Where can people find out more about you and check out what you're doing?
So people can come to Spartan.com is the website, and then the podcast is SpartanUpPodcast.com. And it's new. We are not podcast people. I didn't even know what a podcast was, but it's pretty cool. We're getting some good feedback, and I think you'll like some of the people we interviewed.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I highly recommend that everyone go check out, either do a Spartan Race itself or check out the podcast, or both. Joe, I really appreciate you taking the time to answer these quick questions, and really appreciate the guidance you gave us all today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, see ya.
See ya. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Better Humanology podcast. If you want to know about any of the resources we talked about, head on over to betterhumanology.com and check out the podcast show notes. Likewise, we have betterhumanology.com/toolbox where you can find every resource that we've ever talked about on the podcast. So go check it out. Until next time, here's to becoming a better human.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best.